This is a 13 weather impact alert.
Thanks for joining us on 13 Plus. Peter Elliott alongside meteorologist Amber Twardy, and you saw it right there on the open. We are under a weather impact alert for a pretty understandable reason here.
Yeah.
Blizzard-like conditions expected.
Yeah, we're talking about a high-impact winter storm on the way. This is something that we don't necessarily talk about all the time, especially considering that we're looking at the possibility of blizzard warnings. We have not seen a blizzard warning since Christmas Day of 2022.
Wow.
It's been 3 years,
Yeah.
so it's been a while since we've seen a blizzard warning, and it does look like a possibility at very least that we could see that tomorrow. Currently, we are not seeing blizzard warnings. But what we are seeing is a 13 weather impact alert. So I want to give you a look at what we're seeing from all of this. When is going to be tomorrow? It's all day long tomorrow, but the Monday morning commute especially is going to be seeing the highest impact. We're looking at accumulating snowfall, multiple inches of it in some areas. We'll look at snow totals in just a little bit here, but also very windy conditions. We're also going to be looking at wind gusts that, especially near the lakeshore, could be topping 55 miles an hour at times. That, coupled with the snowfall coming down, even heavy snowfall at times, is going to create, at very least, blizzard-like conditions. What you'll need is plenty of extra travel time, or better yet, just stay home for Monday. That is the ideal situation here, but of course, there's likely going to be quite a few people still hitting the roads to kick off Monday, getting back to work after the holiday week. Something else that we're going to need to pay attention to is power outages. That certainly is a possibility. I know that we've seen some power outages over the past couple of weeks just from windy conditions. I know there's been some issues with freezing rain even over just the past week or so. Now, power outages do still look to be a concern with this, even widespread ones that we would be looking at because of just how strong those winds are going to be, which of course is not an ideal situation in any regard, but temperatures are also going to be pretty chilly during that time frame, only topping out in the 20s and feeling even colder than that, Peter.
Could you help us kind of time this out? What hour are we kind of expecting these conditions to start rolling in early in the hours of the morning?
Yeah, a lot of this will start up close to about 5 o'clock in the morning. That's when we really start to see lake effect kicking in. It's not just lake effect, though. This is largely going to be lake enhanced snowfall. Okay. So what that means is that we already have a system that's passing on through. It's bringing us snowfall to begin with, but Lake Michigan just gives it that extra oomph, trying to kick things into gear and gives us even more snowfall, especially within specific belts, especially in areas that we usually end up seeing northwesterly winds bring quite a bit of snowfall.
All along the lakeshore. There will be a little divide, though. The lakeshore will get a lot of the brunt of the snow, more Kent County, inland, less snow, right?
Yeah, less snowfall, but even in the areas that are only expecting an inch, 3 inches of snow, still going to be expecting some fairly high impact because we do have to deal with those winds. The wind is going to make visibility pretty rough as we're getting into tomorrow morning. Now, the system that we're talking about here is something that we've already been dealing with today. It's a pretty complex system. This is something that's already brought us widespread rainfall today and even a couple of thunderstorms closer to I-94. Let's get a look of that system where it is currently, still making its way through the Mitten State. That more right-hand low-pressure system and the warm front, that lifted through the Midwest and has brought us quite a bit of rain throughout the day. And the one that's on the left, currently situated over southwest Michigan, that is what's continuing to bring us rainfall right now, but following behind it is when we're going to start to see that snowfall funneling in And of course, with northwesterly winds, that's also bringing lake effect back into the picture. So here's what we've seen, a loop over the past 5 hours. We've seen some pretty heavy rainfall at times, and even with all that pink further north and east, especially getting north of US 10, that's where we've even had some freezing rain throughout much of the day. So scattered rain showers, but then also a couple of lightning that has popped up, or at least a couple of lightning bolts that have popped up on our lightning product here for radar right along I-94. Few thunderstorms, non-severe thunderstorms is what we were looking at, but something to point out is that down near the Illinois-Indiana border, so further south of us, nothing that impacted West Michigan, but still something to note. A line of storms moved through, and we even saw a tornado warning there earlier this afternoon. Yeah, not something that we're dealing with, thankfully. Completely non-severe storms when we're talking about at least that term of severe for West Michigan, but we still are going to be expecting some pretty high impacts from this winter storm that's on its way. Let's stop time here for a second and just look at what we're seeing on radar currently. Now, there are multiple areas that are still seeing that rain coming down fairly heavy, especially through Newaygo, Mecosta counties, Muskegon and Ottawa counties. You're also getting it coming down pretty heavy as well. Now, along US 131, especially through Allegan down into Kalamazoo County, we have started to see things clear out a little bit. That line of rainfall that's made its way a little bit further off to the east, still through Barry and Calhoun counties, that will make its way further east, and we are expecting at least a little bit of a break in the rainfall this evening before we start to see things kicking right back up. I want to give a look at temperatures, though, because look at this gradient that we're seeing. 50 degrees for Kalamazoo, 54 in South Haven. Here in Grand Rapids, though, just about 10 degrees colder than that, just shy of that, at least 42 right now. Big Rapids, you are down to 34. Now, that cold air is where the rest of us are going to be seeing as temperatures are plummeting during the overnight hours. So here's our temperature profile over the next 12 hours. Still lower 40s for many of us around the Grand Rapids area throughout this evening, but dropping down into the 20s by daybreak tomorrow. Look at that top bar there. We are going to be seeing still a couple more rain showers before clouds are filtering in and wind is picking up. Overnight, that transitions over to rain and snow, more of a rain-snow mix, and eventually just snowfall into tomorrow morning. So definitely going to be a rough Monday morning commute, Peter.
I think that is the key thing. This is all happening right before the work week starts, and I'd imagine a lot of people are going to wake up and just get in their cars, and they might not be ready for the conditions on the roads. It won't be easy out there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be pretty rough as people are getting back, and especially after the long holiday week. I know a lot of people out there took off the entire week for Christmas.
It's a rude welcome back to the working world.
Yeah, what a happy Monday. What a great way to kick off the work week. It's going to be pretty rough out there.
The case of the Mondays. We were talking with the Road Commission. They were talking about all the precautions you can take to make sure your gas tank is filled at least halfway full, clearing off all the windows and even the lights as well. So many things you need to do to prepare to make sure you can get there safely.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of ways that people are really going to want to prepare for tomorrow. Making sure to take extra time is, of course, step one. But yeah, having your snow brush, making sure that you have those materials in your car just in case you do get into a slide off, you get into a crash. All of those are possibilities. We do end up seeing that when we have these morning storms, even ones that are well weaker than this. We've experienced crashes, slide offs throughout many of our morning commutes. And this is going to be likely worse than what we've seen so far this season.
And another key thing as well, staying back from those snow plows. The Road Commission will have a lot of plows on the road all across West Michigan, all of those counties. But the key is you got to stay 200 feet back. That is the new law here in the state of Michigan. You have to stay back. And of course, they'll be doing their best, but just slow down. The key thing, of course, obviously, building in that time. Don't leave the normal hour you go to work. But build in that time to really take it easy on the roads. One thing in the maps you were pointing out is the kind of distinction between the winter storm advisory and warning. What is the difference between those two things?
Yeah, so we're talking about difference between really just how strong those winds would be. So I do want to pull this up here. If we can just take back graphics for a second, talking about our 13 weather impact alert. So first, we're going to look at this Monday. We are seeing some strong winds, snow, blizzard-like conditions. And with that, that's going to be bringing that switch over to snow overnight, and then eventually we will be seeing some pretty blustery conditions tomorrow. That will be bringing us that more impactful winter storm. So just like Peter was talking about, we're going to switch on over here. Graphics are trying to load. Here we go. We've got some winter alerts on the board. So winter storm warning, that's in place from Monday 1 a.m. until Monday at 7 p.m. Winter weather advisories in place for our more inland counties from 1 a.m. to 7 p.m. as well. So this is going to be an all day long type of thing that we're talking about. So I want to read off, especially what we're talking about with the winter storm warning. What you can really think of this as is where it's highlighted in pink. That's the higher impact. Lower impact towards the winter weather advisory, but even then you are still going to be feeling it for Monday morning. Here though, I want to read off what the National Weather Service actually issued when they issued the winter storm warning, because some of the language that they've noted is definitely interesting to note here. So saying what? Heavy snow, blowing and drifting snow expected, total snow accumulations between 4 to 8 inches with winds gusting as high as 60 miles per hour. I'm just reading off of what they issued a little bit earlier on, but I really want to point out what's under the impact section, because they have said whiteout and near blizzard conditions are expected and will make travel treacherous and potentially life-threatening.
Wow.
That is some really powerful language there.
Yeah.
It's something that we really want to make sure that we're paying attention to into tomorrow with all of these different warnings that are in place. And of course, the possibility that we could be seeing those near blizzard-like conditions. I would not be surprised by us getting that blizzard warning that we have not seen for 3 years now.
Right. You mentioned the last time we have seen a blizzard warning was in 2022. That was the Christmas storm then. I think they saw 2 feet of snow here across West Michigan.
Oh my gosh, it was definitely a lot. I was not here at the time, but it was a ton of snowfall. I know that that's something that's in a lot of people's brains whenever the holidays come around of, hey, at least it's not 2022.
Right.
But of course it's another holiday. Of course it's leading us up to New Year's Eve.
It's got to happen around the busiest time of year, busiest time for travel as well.
I swear, especially, I mean, the Thanksgiving storm too. So we had the Thanksgiving storm. We're now getting this as we're rounding out 2025. 2026 is still going to feel like winter, but we will have at least a little bit less snow. So something to look forward to at least once we get there. But in the meantime, yeah, a lot to pay attention to into this upcoming work week.
Got to work our way through this system first. I was looking, the previous major blizzard before 2022 was 2011. So there's been a little bit of a break in between these major blizzards. Now, the National Weather Service is stopping just short of calling this a blizzard, correct?
Yes. So currently, we are only seeing the winter storm warning and the winter weather advisory. I'm going to pull up a graphic here in just a moment. So it's an explainer of exactly what a blizzard is, the different conditions that you would expect when you're talking about what is a blizzard warning. The criteria there would be winds that would be sustained or frequent gusts of 35 plus miles an hour. That would create visibility issues that would go down to about 1/4 of a mile or less. And that would be sustained for 3+ hours, so at least 3 hours. And that's where I think that there might be a little bit of a hang up here, because here's what we're seeing for visibility. It does look like by about 10 p.m., even just this evening, we could see fog developing. This would create visibility that would be below 1/4 of a mile for many of us. Into tomorrow morning, it's the snow that's really going to make the main issue. So visibility that for many of us still, it could be below a mile. But I do think that we could end up seeing at least things trying to clear out further inland a bit as we're getting into late tomorrow morning. That does not mean that this is going to be low impact by any means. This is still a very high impact system on the way because of this issue with visibility and, of course, with the blowing snow. So talking about this, really breaking this down, Monday all day long is when we're seeing the 13 weather impact alert. This is going to be the worst during the morning commute, though. So as you're getting out the door Monday morning, you want to plan for that plenty of extra time. Roads are going to be pretty tricky out there. The impact is from this winter storm, a strong winter storm, heavy snowfall at times, and also strong winds, once again gusting up to about 55 miles an hour, strongest near the lakeshore. Near blizzard conditions is what we are expecting out of all this. You are going to want to be prepared for difficult travel, expecting whiteouts from all of this. And of course, we are also talking about that concern for power outages. Once you get those stronger winds, that does become an issue as well.
We were talking with folks at Consumers Energy. Of course, they were dealing with those outages across mid-Michigan on Friday. About 30,000 people lost power there. Of course, they're expecting more outages here. They are sending about 500 crews throughout West Michigan to try and take care of these power outages they are expecting. When you have winds this high, 50 to 60 miles per hour, it's almost an inevitability.
Yes, absolutely. It is something that's going to be a concern, especially along the lakeshore where we expect those highest winds. This is going to be quite a doozy of a system. Here, I'm going to back things up just a little bit so that we can talk about where we stand right now and exactly where we're headed.
It's not that windy just right now.
Not right now, not really at all, actually. Some of us are seeing sustained winds, 5 to 10 miles an hour, but that's pretty much it. Now, it is rainy out there. Here's a live look from our Walker Tower camera. You can definitely tell that the fog is trying to settle in. Quite a few people still out there on the highway, and things aren't too bad on roads right now, honestly. 42 degrees, so that's not giving us any concern for any freezing. But as we're heading into tonight, that's when things will start to change. Grand Rapids Tower camera also looking pretty rainy out there. 42 degrees, a wet evening that we're seeing before we start to see that snow kicking in overnight. Muskegon looking at temperatures at 41 degrees right now. Still a little bit of a breeze, but nothing compared to what's on the way. And a look out at Grand Haven, where yes, we're still seeing some of those circles. Those are raindrops accumulated on the camera lens there, but it's been worse not too long ago. So we still are experiencing rain, but notice how this does look like a little bit less of an active picture than even just about 30 minutes ago. A lot of that rain is trying to wrap up. So let's talk about the timing of how much more rain we can expect when the switch happens and what we're expecting for tomorrow. So this is looking specifically at the HRRR or HRRR model. This is what we've got on the way. A little bit of a break between about 9 to 10 p.m. before we start to see some rain showers filtering back in, but there's some of that mixing that we can expect right around midnight. That's when temperatures are dropping back down into the 30s, giving us that possibility for a bit of a wintry mix before the snow really starts to settle in. Now temperatures are plummeting. They are dropping very quickly overnight, so I don't expect that wintry mix to stick around long enough to give us a very high impact necessarily. It's going to be the snow and the strong winds that is going to be the main issue for us. This is 4 a.m. and you're already starting to see some of those darker blues popping up through Muskegon, Ottawa counties, even up into Oceana County too. Now, that's not exactly where I expect it to stay too much. A lot of that looks to push a little bit further to the south and really into southwest Michigan. That's going to be along northwesterly and really northwesterly winds throughout much of our Monday. That will start to taper off as lake enhanced snow is moving out and lake effect snow is picking up. That lasts but lingers really throughout the rest of the day before tapering off into the evening hours. So Monday evening, finally starting to see some relief. By the time you're heading home from work, it won't be nearly as bad as the morning. You're still going to want to make sure to be careful because they're likely to still be seeing some pretty rough conditions on roadways, especially near the lakeshore. But hey, here's how much snow we're expecting. Oof. Some areas could see some pretty impressive totals, 6 to 8+ inches of snowfall in those purple areas. So this is specifically looking into Oceana, Mason counties up towards Hart, Pentwater, Ludington, even over to Fremont. I do think Fremont will likely be closer to the 5 to 7 inch mark, right on that border between the purple and darker blue. The darker blue color also showing where we could see about 4 to 6 inches of snow, or rather, yes, of snow actually, and that's something that we could likely see west of US 131, extending a little bit further down into the western half of Berry County and into that really intersection between Kalamazoo and Calhoun counties as well. Something else I want to point out, it does look like we're going to be seeing a band setting up, going down through Holland, through Allegan, and into the Kalamazoo region. But notice how there's a little bit of darker blue that's right along the lakeshore into southwest Michigan, down near Van Buren County, even through Allegan County. That's not a mistake. It does look like actually the immediate lakeshore, down through southwest Michigan at least, could see a little bit of a gap as those winds are pushing a lot of that snow further inland. Now notice too, as you're going into mid-Michigan, up to 2 inches possible, but that's about it. So
they're spared.
Yeah, quite a bit of a gradient that we're going to be seeing here. The closer to the lakeshore you get, and especially into those purple areas, that's where we are going to be seeing the most snowfall. Still though, I don't expect that we're going to get a lot of very reliable snow reports out of all of this. We're going to be seeing such strong winds that snow drifts are an issue, and at that rate, even if you're trying to measure snow totals, you might not necessarily be measuring what's actually falling. You're just going to measure what's pushed up against a building, or maybe some of that snow got blown away. So it's going to be tricky to get
the yardstick will be unreliable.
It will not be very much so reliable into tomorrow. So we don't necessarily want to stress too much about totals. Yes, they do look pretty impressive, but even if you are seeing some of those lower end totals, you're still seeing a high impact. Tomorrow is still going to be rough, no matter what your snow totals are looking like. Mid-Michigan does look to be spared at least a little bit. They're still going to be getting the really strong winds though, so that will be a concern for power outages, high profile or tall vehicles really, so especially semis, trailers, any of those are going to be running into an issue on highways where they want to make sure they're going slower. But yeah, when we're talking about really the wind and the blowing snow, that's the main impact here. So don't get too hung up on snow totals necessarily, because everybody's still going to be seeing a fairly high impact into Monday morning. I
think when people think blizzard-like conditions, they're expecting mountainous snow totals, 2 feet. That's not exactly the case with this system here.
Yeah, not necessarily. We are still going to be seeing some pretty impressive totals in some areas, but once again, it's going to be tricky to see the totals in general. It's going to be hard to even get reliable snow totals out of all of this with just how strong the winds are. So what we really just want to point out to people is, hey, it's going to be windy. It's going to be snowy. And snow rates, of course, is also something where you might just get an hour of snow. But if you're getting 2 inches an hour, you're getting these really high snow rates, then that hour is going to be really rough out on the roads. Making sure you're really prepared for tomorrow is very important here with taking it slow, waking up early and leaving early, staying home if you can.
Yes, that's the
even
key.
Better.
No extraordinary, no extracurricular kind of visits. You know, you really want to make sure it's work or things you really need to be doing out on the roads.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's going to be, if there was school in session tomorrow,
Yeah,
there
right.
would be a lot of school closings.
Closures tomorrow, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. All the kiddos being home for the
Yes.
holidays is definitely great news
Yes,
to be able
yes.
to make sure that that kind of is removed as a component out of all of this. That's a variable we don't have to think about
Right.
too much. But everybody who is going to be on the roads that's heading out to work tomorrow is going to be dealing with these really rough roadways.
They won't be watching the ticker tomorrow morning to see if their school is
Yeah.
closed. They will be. They know they are home already. One area that will be seeing a lot of snow, the Upper Peninsula,
Yeah.
up to a foot across the area. Unbelievable.
It's going to be a little crazy for the UP. Now, I do want to point out too, here, I'm going to pull up some of our winter alerts that extend all throughout the Mitten State because that is where we're seeing some blizzard warnings.
Yeah.
So that purple, or rather, sorry, the orange there that we're seeing are blizzard warnings all throughout the UP. The UP is not necessarily a very much so stranger to blizzard warnings,
Sure.
but still, it's a pretty high impact for them at very least. Now, their snow totals, being in the UP, they're all snowmobilers.
Yeah, they got it. They're ready.
They're like, we got this handled.
Yeah.
That's all right.
You don't have to tell us to drive slow.
Exactly. Like, yes, we're all from Michigan. Yes, we expect snow. We are kind of used to it, but not like how the UP is.
Yes.
So they still are going to be seeing some fairly high impact
Sure.
out of that as well, though, when it comes to that reduced visibility and things just being rough tomorrow in general.
It will be challenging all across the Mid-State. I think that's the key here.
Yeah,
No matter whether
absolutely.
you're in the Upper Peninsula or here in West Michigan,
Yeah.
it will be challenging whether you're at home, going to work, with these blizzard-like conditions.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit too about the winds, because right now, just as you mentioned, they're not really strong. At this point, things aren't necessarily picked up yet,
The
but
calm.
they will start to. Yeah, the calm before the storm is exactly right. Look at how we've got sustained winds between 5 to 10 miles an hour throughout much of West Michigan, but notice how down towards the state line, we've got some wind gusts that are exceeding 30 miles an hour, even sustained winds at 28 miles an hour right now in South Haven. Zooming out a little bit, look at just how strong those winds are through Illinois up into Iowa, even over into the Dakotas and Minnesota. Wind is heading in our direction. It is going to be strong as we're getting into tomorrow, really into tonight, honestly, but especially tomorrow morning. Already by 11 p.m. this evening, looking at wind gusts that could be close to 30 to 40 miles an hour around and south of I-96. Notice how at this time, though, still looking at forecasted wind gusts to only be around 5 miles an hour for Big Rapids. So quite the gradient. Winds are going to be picking up quickly. So once they start to kick in, they are going to be sticking around. 8 a.m. tomorrow, a lot of us seeing wind gusts between 45 to 50 miles an hour. I still do think that some areas, especially along the lakeshore, could see wind gusts that get closer to the 55 mile an hour mark. Now that will last with us throughout much of the day. 5 p.m., by the time the evening commute is hitting, we've still got sustained winds that will be pretty strong, up to about 25 miles an hour, and wind gusts up to about 40 to 45 miles an hour. We do start to see things tapering off a bit into Tuesday. It will still be pretty breezy throughout much of our Tuesday, but we are also going to be expecting, yes, breezy and not very windy conditions. So we will see some improvement by the time that we do hit Tuesday. So I do want to break down still this 13 weather impact alert one more time for you here. Monday, all day long, is when we are seeing this alert. It's going to be worst during the morning commute, so if you're heading out early tomorrow, that is when you are really going to want to make sure that you are taking it slow, planning for extra time on roads, really just slowing it down. Just like you mentioned too, Peter, how it's now a law that you have to stay further away from those snow plows. That's very important. It's not a suggestion. You have to make sure that you are giving them space. Winter storm warning that we are going to be seeing for many of our lakeshore counties, extending a bit further inland for some as well. Now, this is going to be for heavy snow, strong winds, but those coupled together, that's going to create a recipe for disaster. Looking at near blizzard conditions, it is going to be, just like the National Weather Service said, treacherous out on roadways as we're getting into tomorrow. Preparing for difficult travel, very important here. Whiteouts are going to be expected, especially for the lakeshore. We'll start to see some improvement inland throughout the afternoon, but lakeshore, you are going to be experiencing some pretty rough conditions throughout much of the day. Also with strong winds, widespread power outages are going to be a concern here, especially when we're looking at the lakeshore. That's where we've got the worst impacts likely for many areas, especially into southwest Michigan, and then that one area that's a little bit further north up into Oceana, Mason counties, that kind of region as well, where we often end up seeing those northwesterly snow belts set up.
This is no average day of weather expected here in West Michigan.
Oh, absolutely not. This is going to be kind of a rough one. Finally, from here on out, we will start to see at least a little bit of improvement.
We'll take it.
Yeah, we've still got a little bit of snow on the way past Monday, so still looking at a few snow showers, a clipper system moving through Tuesday night, leading into some snow showers and still breezy conditions by Wednesday. Temperatures that will be staying in the 20s, so we are going to be sticking with some pretty wintry temps that feel cold and are below average for this time of year, even into the beginning of 2026. Here's a look at your 13 on your side 7-day forecast. So our 13 weather impact alert for tomorrow drops off as we head into Tuesday, but we still are going to be expecting some more snowfall to round out this year. New Year's Day, though, 20% chance for a few flurries that could pop up, but for the most part, quieter after that into the beginning of 2026. So we are going to be expecting, yes, colder temperatures, but finally a bit quieter. We just have to get past this really rough start to this week first.
A calmer New Year's Eve forecast, rather. We can really settle into the new year without this, but we got to get through Monday first.
Absolutely. Yep. Take it slow, everybody. Just make sure to be extra safe because this is going to be a pretty rough one, it looks like.
It will be. Take it slow, take it safe, stay warm, and you can stay posted on all of the weather updates. We will be live on 13 Plus throughout the morning tomorrow. You can, of course, download our app 13 on your side. We will have updates throughout the day. You can download that on the App Store and Google Play as well. And of course, we'll have updates throughout the day on our website as well, 13onyourside.com. This will be a busy stretch for you, Amber, and the weather team.
Oh, it's going to be a bit rough. I know I'll be here for a while. In the morning, though, meteorologist Colton Woods has you handled from 5 to 7. Blake Hansen, meteorologist Blake Hansen, is doing a full marathon tomorrow. He'll be there at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. He's going to be there all the way through the evening show, so he's got you covered all day long. I'll be back in the evening as well, so we've got you covered tomorrow. Make sure to stick with us.
The best in the business right there, the 13 on your side weather team. Thank you so much for all you do, Amber, and we appreciate you joining us here on 13 Plus. Of course, stay warm and stay safe. Thanks for joining us.